It's clear to anyone who's been following this, shall we say, this lead up to the winter of discontent. This isn't even Act One. This is like the prelude to the to the show that is about to go on in this winter. Not only are we going to have lots of food shortages, a continuation of the gas price rises over here. More HEV shortages are going to cause even more delays. It's already biting into rising in food, which is reportedly to be in at least the region of about £5. That is a lot of money, considering, again, when a couple of weeks' time, the government is about to end the extension of the universal credit, where they uplifted it by about £20 a week. So they're now taking that away, which equates to about £1,000 a year extra to a lot of poor families, and is estimated to at least affect over at least about a good number of families in the UK, and will push a lot more people into poverty. How they intend to get away with this or get around this, we don't know. Like I say, this is even going to affect Conservative MPs in some what are even traditionally considered very safe seats. So we know they've had a fire lit underneath them. But of course, one of the things that's very interesting to know, if indeed Brexit was going well, we would have been barraged by it completely. Every single media outlet, or shall we say right-wing media outlet, would have been screaming from the rooftops, look how good Brexit has been going. But of course, it hasn't been, and hence why a lot of the problems we are having, like, look, the continent are having shortage of HGV drivers, but not to the extent we are. They are not having gas price rises to the extent we are. They are not having a fuel shortage to the extent we are. So there's something going on, and it is that, of course, that dreaded B word. So let's jump into today's article from the Yorkshire Bylines. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do follow and support the channel. So let's jump into this. Like I said, this comes from the Yorkshire Bylines, titled, If Brexit Was Going Well, We Would Have Heard About It By Now. This is not the end. The Telegraph splashed on the eve of Britain's official departure from the European Union as they proclaimed a new beginning for Britain, next to the statesman-like Boris Johnson. Alongside others, the billionaire-backed newspaper had been one of the very prominent foghorns for the Vote Leave campaign, giving lots of succor to the ERG and other hardliners who extolled the virtues of a clean or hard Brexit split from the EU. On the day we found out that the UK had voted out of the European Union, they wrote to Telegraph readers what won it. A nod to obviously the infamous Sun front page that hailed a very unlikely Tory win in 1992 general election. The subheading could not have even been painted very clear a picture of the symbolic connection that they had instilled in their readers. It read this: Brexit may have divided the country, but you, dear readers, have been vociferous in expressing your desire to leave the EU in your letters. It was a match made in heaven for a newspaper that acts like it is an innate responsibility to try and protect the old guard and the readers that pine for the good old days of yore to return. To credit the Telegraph and its readers entirely with the votes to leave the EU would be a little myopic. A media onslaught across all of mainstream media was what won it. So comprehensive was it in scope and reach. And again, according to the research by Reuters and the Institute of University of Oxford, of the 2,000 plus articles that they analysed were focused on the referendum, 41% were in pro-leave against the 27% pro-remain. They also found that the press coverage focused heavily on politicians and campaign spokespeople, with relatively very few analysis/expert academics and foreign politicians, and with more attention on personalities and the contrast than the issues. This should come as absolutely no surprise to the UK media audience, who have been subjected to myths about the European Union since the day the country opted to join the bloc. Reports that, of course, curd bananas will be blocked by Brussels and lollipop lady sticks will have to be outlawed by the repressive union have also been making the headlines across other papers for years. Little wonder, therefore, that there was actually a very dearth of voices willing to sing its praises when it came to the crunch. But ever since the UK officially departed from the EU at the start of last year, there has been a very noticeable change in the tone of some of the newspapers that seem to support the exit in the first place. Last week, The Telegraph took a very leave of its very own pro Brexit crusade after it questioned whether the UK's divorce from the EU has really been all it's cracked up to be. Assistant editor Jeremy Ragnar engaged in a war of words with the government, saying they seemed very intent on wasting our sovereignty. He added that it is now abundantly clear that the deal struck with the EU was a terrible deal for Britain. That imposes a very multiple different obstructions on trade. Warner even waded into it also of serious damage and to the integrity of the union with Northern Ireland, something that most Remainers were very acutely aware of before their vote was even cast. And of course, what of the Brexit success? Given how most vocal newspapers were indeed in the run up to the referendum, you might have thought that it would be very much trumpeting the spoils of the victory. But there have been indeed a very eerie silence on that front too. And so you could summarize it down to the fact that there has been absolutely very few. News that the Crown stamp will return into the pint glasses was heralded as a Brexit triumph by the Express, quoting MP Lee Anderson, who noted that the baggage would be, quote, one of the many benefits of the UK's divorce, not actually saying what the other benefits actually are. In a Commons address, Lord Frost used the return of imperial measures as, quote, proof that the gloom mongers have been proved wrong following the UK's departure from the EU, which is funny because I don't recall weights and measurements ever being one of the hot topics prior to the referendum. It seems the Brexit minister, like many of our mainstream news outlets, are a few oranges short of a bushel. They promised the land of milk and honey and delivered a land of ounces and gallons. Only time will tell if he or they will actually indeed come to their senses. And yeah, that is exactly the point. What we've been saying for a long time. The newspapers have toned down their rhetoric very severely because they know full well what they promised to the British public. And if they start, shall we say, maybe reminding their readers of the glories that they promised, maybe then they might actually start to turn against the MPs, which is not what the Telegraph wants, because of course the Telegraph is a big supporter, of course, of the Tory party. It's colloquially known over here as the Tory graph. So, of course, they do not want to remind people that, hey, all that stuff we promised you, yeah, let's just tone it down now a bit. And even these, again, all of the other, again, Leave newspapers, or so we say the Leave dominated newspapers, have even toned it down themselves because they know that these victories just aren't there. They're never going to be there. And, to repeat what I often said, the path for us back to rejoining the European Union has already been laid out before us. It's just it's not a matter of how, it's a matter of when. And the big push will be, I can almost guarantee you, from the Tory moderates. And when they start to cry to rejoin the European Union or the Single Market Customs Union, then you know we're on a very fast track to rejoining. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.